Marjie, come on back here. Oh, where's Friedman?
Uh-oh, right here.
We got a problem with one of the buses.
Yeah, right.
This might be an issue.
It's not like a moving door.
All right.
Federal funding is not going to offset that.
I think we're going to get started. You guys ready?
Oh, that was nice.
Ready?
Yeah, rock and roll, buddy.
Supervisor Lavagnino. Is that your speech? I'm impressed.
Get closer, folks.
I'm impressed.
Come on.
I would never use that little font. It's got to be a big font. Well, first of all, thank you all very much for coming, members of the media and other staffs from various agencies. I want to thank MTD for hosting us today, and the CEO, Jerry Estrada of MTD, is with us as well. I want to acknowledge Marjie Kirn, Executive Director of SBCAG, Supervisor Steve Lavagnino, who is the Chairman of SBCAG, or Chairman of SBCAG, Scott Eades with Caltrans, Region 5. Is this still Region 5? District 5. Dean Franks with the American Road and Transportation Builders Association, straight out here from Washington. I think he likes our weather. And of course, Councilman Friedman, formerly on my staff when I was the county supervisor. Did I mention I served with Supervisor Steve Lavagnino when I was on the board? Those were the good old days. 3 years ago, my colleagues and I on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, we were hard at work on moving the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law forward through Congress. A reminder that it's the largest infrastructure investment that our nation has made in a generation. And since November 2021, we have seen that law bring new federal funds to projects across the Central Coast and throughout our state of California. Today we are here to highlight that commitment to the Central Coast from the law now surpassed $1 billion for projects and operations in Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, and Ventura counties. $1 billion. What does $1 billion look like? It looks like highway improvements up and down the 101, bridge replacements, new paving, bike lanes, sidewalk repairs, and all the many important projects quarterbacked by Caltrans, SBCAG in our cities and county across the state and here in Santa Barbara County. It looks like new electric buses for MTD, Santa Barbara Unified School District, and other transit agencies across our region. It means millions of dollars invested in our airports, both regional hubs like Santa Barbara Airport, $10 million to date, and Santa Maria and Lompoc and San Ynez. We are tackling climate change, investing in resiliency projects like erosion mitigation in Carpinteria and Pismo Beach. We are promoting access to clean water through water infrastructure investments in places like Goleta, Ventura, and Cambria, to name a few. And we are investing in expanded rail options, both through better service on the Surfliner in the Low Sand Corridor and better options past San Luis Obispo. And there is more to come, like deploying the largest single investment ever in high-speed broadband internet to make sure that our entire region has the connectivity we need. We have Dean Frank here, as I mentioned earlier, with the American Road and Transportation Builders Association, ARTBA. They have been a big help in tracking the millions of dollars coming for infrastructure construction to the Central Coast. But they represent also the biggest win-win of this infrastructure law. Jobs, jobs, jobs. Did I say jobs, jobs, jobs? Construction jobs, good paying middle class jobs all across this nation and here at home. Today we will be traveling to a handful of places where these infrastructure dollars are already making a difference and where funding will be helping raise the quality of life for Central Coast residents. We start with MTD. we are hard at work electrifying their bus fleet with the goal of having zero emissions from their buses by 2030. Earlier this year, I was proud to announce nearly $3 million from our infrastructure law to help make that goal a reality. Then we will visit Santa Barbara's beautiful train station, Amtrak's train station, to talk about the $1 million that is being invested in the rail corridors that serve the Central Coast to determine the best ways to preserve and improve rail options, both to the south with our Losan corridor and to the north of San Luis Obispo. And finally, we'll look at construction underway on the freeways of our district, which are the backbone of the commuters, tourism, and commerce of the Central Coast. In particular, we'll be looking at the bridges over the San Jose Creek on the 217 and the 101, major freeways, which have seen more than $30 million in federal funds supporting Caltrans efforts there. I will end with this. I am not here to take sole credit for anything I have described to you today, or any of the projects that we will be seeing on our tour. This is the nature of the federal government. We help fund and execute projects in collaboration with our local experts who say what we need and identify what we need. We do not do it alone. As someone who used to work in local government the government side of the equation, I know that it is these local and state partners behind me that are making the promise of this infrastructure law come to reality. And so I want everyone to see that credit shared today. The Central Coast is the greatest place on earth, and I remind my colleagues of that every day for a lot of reasons. But one of the big reasons is the people that are constantly working to make it a better place. With that, I will turn it over to my former colleague, Santa Barbara County Supervisor Steve Lavagnino.
Well, I've been on the Board of Supervisors for 14 years and also a member of SBCAG for the same amount of time. And during that time, I've made many trips to Washington, D.C. with our staff and some of my other colleagues. In fact, I think I took a trip or two with Salud before he was elected there. And we would spend our time trying to advocate for additional funding for transportation. It was difficult to explain to members of Congress how we as Santa Barbara County residents have taxed ourselves with Measure A, and we always felt like we were just trying to educate. And we really never made much progress. We'd get a piece of the pie here or there, some little crumbs. But then I think what happened was American people, knowing that transportation is such an important issue, started electing people that were more involved in local government. You see more mayors, more city council members, more people that have served on boards of supervisors getting elected, just like my former colleague. And what's happened? We got the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law passed. And my colleague is now a senior member of the House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. He has the ability to put his thumb on the scale, to put the weight down for Santa Barbara County and what our needs are. And what I thought was so cool about that was I thought, okay, I'm going to be able to call Salud and tell him this is what I need. That really hasn't happened, and I'm going to explain to you why. It's because he picks up the phone first and calls us and wants to know how he can help. So I get the phone call that says, I know Guadalupe is an underserved community. What project there can we work on to make it better? What's happening in Santa Maria? What projects, what bridges, what culverts, what roads need to be done? What has to be done? Even at the county level. Here's some grant opportunities. You can work with my staff. And how can we make Santa Barbara County a better place for all of our residents? So it's been an awesome relationship. I look around at these MTD buses and I know there's going to be we're going on a little bit of a road show right now. But I can just tell you from my own district, a huge difference. And sitting as a member of SBCAG, this is what the American people want. The federal government working with the state government and the locals, forgetting about pointing the finger and calling people names and this infighting. and just simply working to get projects done that benefit our residents. And so with that, I just want to thank Congressman Carbajal, and looking for another $1 billion next go round.
Thank you, Supervisor Lavagnino. I'm missing my wallet. You didn't take it, by any chance. Next, we will have Councilmember Eric Friedman, alternate Vice Chair of SBCAG.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to MTD for hosting us today on this very important day. And I want to start off by thanking our congressman and my former boss at the county, Salud Carbajal. He's our congressman and he's going to work for us every day. And part of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law is that there are no potholes, there's no traffic. It's not partisan. Nobody wants to be in traffic. Everybody wants clean drinking water. And this investment that is coming our way is going to make a huge difference for all of our community. And it wouldn't happen, like Supervisor Lavagnino said, without individuals in Congress who understand the needs of our local communities, who are from the local community. And to have that come forward is truly amazing for us. In the city of Santa Barbara, we taxed ourselves a 1-cent sales tax to pay for infrastructure. And while that's coming forward, it still doesn't meet the need. In particular, when you look at the workforce, it's spread out through different cities, throughout different counties. This is a regional collaboration with the federal government coming in and saying we want the entire tri-counties to work together to improve our infrastructure. And that is the spirit of bipartisanship. And it just brings everybody to the table. It's an economic driver because it affects us getting to work. It affects, you don't have repairs on your cars if you hit a pothole. And it's just so much more convenient for us, and it is where the American people and residents in Santa Barbara want us to spend our tax dollars, put them to work. So again, I want to thank everybody here for showing up today. Thank our Congressman Carbajal and all my former colleagues at the county and at Caltrans, and really appreciate the opportunity to see what we're going to be putting into action in a few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Next, we have Scott Eades, Director for Caltrans District 5.
Well, good afternoon. It is a pleasure to be here today. And we have been so fortunate from the support of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, or as Caltrans often calls it, the IIJA, or Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act. We've been so fortunate to be able to receive this funds, help making for a better America, and especially right here on the Central Coast. And today's projects that we're going to visit, particularly one of the projects that Caltrans is working on right now on Highway 217, is a good example of that. More broadly, to talk about the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, we have been able to receive around $200 million in funding in District 5, that's Caltrans District 5, as a result of this funding source. It's created 4 new projects and led to the ability to fully fund 7 more. And this funding has been used for critical safety improvements, for climate resiliency type improvements, environmental enhancements, bridge projects like the one we'll visit today, and complete streets improvements. And then more broadly on the federal funding side, from 2022 to 2028, federal funding will contribute over $725 million to projects within Caltrans District 5 and Congressional District 24. That's 53 specific projects that we're going to be able to fund and fully implement with this federal funding source. All right, and then the project which we're going to visit today is the Highway 217 Bridge Replacement Project. It includes over $32 million of federal funds. Again, that project would not be possible without it. At this location which we'll visit, there's an existing 4-lane highway bridge that served the public for over 60 years, so 6 decades of use, and unfortunately in recent years we've seen some structural degradation. So the timing was right. We needed to address these older bridges that needed replacement, and we're doing so now with these funds. So the new funds will be updated to the new bridges will be updated to modern standards. They'll address adequate elevations to prevent flooding, and will maintain and provide access for a full multimodal connectivity for decades to come. And then the project is also a great representation of partnership between the federal government, Caltrans, and the city of Goleta. In this case, we were able to work with the city closely to be able to accommodate a new structure while we're replacing our bridges, a new undercrossing specifically for bicycles that is part of the city's multimodal network. So that project will be fully constructed in 2026, which really dovetails nicely into the structure replacement. With respect to the project which we'll be visiting today, we're about 40% complete right now. By mid-fall 2024, we expect that the eastbound bridge, the eastbound portion, will be completed. Traffic will shift over, and then we're expecting completion of the larger project with both bridges replaced by late 2025 or early 2026, with some follow-on landscaping improvements after that. So with respect to that project, big thanks to the Caltrans teams, which includes project manager Genaro Diaz, design manager Curtis Gubler, construction manager Arturo Lau, and structures construction manager Raymond Barajas. And then I also just wanted to give a shout out to our construction contractor, our general contractor, MCM Construction, as well as the UCSB staff and students who have put up with some dust and noise over the last duration, and thank you for their patience as we get that project done. And then finally, just wanted to really appreciate Congressional Representative Carbajal for all of his support for the projects locally, all that is happening here on the transportation front in the Santa Barbara region, as well as all of District 5. Thank you again.
You know, as I was standing back there, I'm reminded about my past service and the continuity of the issues and the knowledge of the issues that we have. I see, again, my former colleague, Supervisor Lavagnino, Eric Friedman, who was in county government, and I'm just reminded of all these issues that we've been working on for years, many of them which are coming to full fruition now, which is really exciting. Next, we have Jerry Estrada, General Manager of the Santa Barbara MTD, and the place where we're at right now. Jerry?
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. I'd like to begin by thanking the Congressman, Caltrans, SBCAG, Federal Transit Administration, for their support of public transit. The Bipartisan Infrastructure Law provides critical funding to public transit operators like MTD throughout the country. It allows us to maintain our buses and our facilities in a state of good repair. What that translates into here in Santa Barbara is equipment, public assets that we rely on to provide public transit services to this community. And that's service that people rely on. They're seniors, people with disabilities, students, and folks just trying to get to work. And the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and the funding programs help make that happen. Recently, MTD was awarded nearly $3 million for additional zero-emission buses, which is very exciting. Now, many of you may know MTD has a long history with zero-emission vehicles. Our fleet of 100 buses, currently we have 23 zero-emission buses out of that 100, plus another 17 hybrid buses. With this funding, as well as additional funding from the state of California, it is a bus yard. I'll give it a moment. But with this funding, as well as additional funding from the state of California, MTD has financial commitment for an additional 18 zero-emission vehicles. That'll bring our fleet of zero-emission vehicles up from 23 to 41, along with 17 hybrids. So we're very pleased and proud of that fact, and we really want to take the time to thank the community for supporting public transit, the services we provide, and of course the folks, our employees, who make that service happen every day. Thank you.
And we're obviously here to celebrate the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. But just a reminder, during the pandemic, the Bipartisan CARES Act, the American Rescue Plan provided the resources to public transit agencies to stay afloat. If it wasn't for that funding, we would not have public transit agencies throughout the country continue to exist as they do. So those funds were vital to making sure that our public transit agencies, such as MTD and others throughout the county are able to do the job that they do today. And last but not least, we have again Mr. Dean Franks, American Road and Transportation Builders Association, ARTBA. I think he's glad to be here. He likes the weather a little bit better than the hot, humid weather in Washington. Dean?
Thank you, Congressman. My name is Dean Franks, as the Congressman mentioned, and I represent the American Road and Transportation Builders Association. Our members, over 8,000 of them, are all facets of the transportation construction industry. So individuals and businesses, so that's engineers, architects, contractors, we have a safety division, materials providers, equipment manufacturers, so all facets of the industry, and they build all modes. So I want to first thank the Congressman. He's been very modest by not taking credit for it, but it's leadership like his and his colleagues who supported the BIL that is really crucial. When it came down to it, we only had a few votes to spare, and so we won't forget the Congressman's support. And unlike others, he's been modest, but there's members of Congress around the country that are taking credit for projects, even though they didn't support the bill. So I think that shows quite a contrast to the Congressman's character, for sure. So. As the Congressman mentioned, our association is taking on the task of tracking all the projects, and in particular on the highway side, and we're starting to on the transit side as well, track where all the money's going. So through the first half of the BIL, we have over 70,000 road and bridge projects that have been obligated or move forward for funding. So that's 70,000 projects across the country. In California alone, 2,500 for highways and bridges. That's $128 billion nationally, and $12.5 billion in California. The Congressman mentioned jobs. This is a huge job creator. 40,000 more construction workers are on job sites right now than before the BIL across the country. That doesn't even include all the non-direct employment that creates, all the waitresses and waiters that serve the construction workers when they got to dinner, the employees at Walmart, et cetera. So it really is it goes far beyond the road and safety improvement, or the safety and mobility improvements that are made in the country due to this law, but it really stretches far and wide. And I would just lastly close the supervisor mentioned, hoping for another $1 billion. We believe the best is yet to come. This money, while we're announcing a lot of it now, it really is going to hit the ground in the next few years, as far as when it comes to shovels and dirt moving and so forth. So we really think the best is yet to come on this one. So thanks again for coming, and thank the Congressman again for his
We have the surface transportation reauthorization that's going to be coming up in a year. And as Dean said, we hope to build on this momentum and continue the investments coming to our area. Just yesterday, I was also in Santa Maria. I ran into Supervisor Lavagnino celebrating a major drainage infrastructure project in the city that is going to improve drainage to alleviate flooding for businesses and residents alike. So in closing, let me just say, collectively with my colleagues here, we are all working together to make sure that these projects come to life and that we continue to improve the lives of our residents. So with that, why don't you get closer to me, we can answer some questions. Ask me the easy questions, ask them the hard ones.
Sorry. In order to keep us on time and the fact that they'll be riding with us, I think we might do Q&A as we're going.
That sounds good.
Make sure the bus is going to leave.
That's why he gets paid the big bucks.